Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be going over simple interest problems where we're finding the various parts. That would be rate, time, or principal. In this do now or warm up, I have a worked out solution already. For all of these questions, I have my solutions already worked out, and I'm just going to be kind of explaining them using the laser pointer, so follow along. In this one, we're asked to calculate the simple interest and the new account balance given a deposit of $990, a 7.25% rate after 9 months. So the formula that we learned on Friday was I equals PRT. P times R times T on the right. P being our principal, our starting or initial amount. R being our rate. It's important with the rate, it's okay to write it down initially as a percent, but that becomes a decimal. So we want to move it 2 places to the left, basically dividing it by 100. It's also very important, this is usually where the trick comes in with these, time is in regards to years. So where it said 9 months in this problem, I wouldn't want to plug in a 9. I'm treating that like, and this might not be a common one if you're not sure what 9 months is in regards to years, put it over 12. Anytime you're given an amount of months, put it over 12 because there's 12 months in a year, and then you'll realize that that's 3/4 of a year, 0.75 if you want to use a decimal. Now I multiply P, R, and T together. You could do it all in one shot in the calculator, and you'll get 53.83 for the interest. So that's just the interest you made. Now how do you find the new account balance? Because think about it, if you've made $53.83, that's not how much money you have in the bank. You still have the $990 that you originally deposited. So we're going to add $990 to that, and that's how we get our final answer here of $1043.83 for the new account balance. Now in today's lesson, P, R, or T are going to be missing, and we're given I. So the problems today are going to be slightly different than this. And this is a good example of one. It says George invests $400 in a new account where he earns 5% interest. After some time, his investment now has a value of $500. So the first thing I did here was I subtracted 500 minus 400. Why did I do that? That's going to tell me how much interest he made. He did not make $500 in interest. How come? Because he started with 400. So he only made $100 in interest. So that's I. P here, the principal starting original amount is obviously 400. The rate, this is usually the easiest one because it's the only one that has a percent. The rate is 5%. I just want to be careful. I'm going to treat that like 0.05. And then T is what's missing. We don't know how long this was. So T I'm going to keep as a variable T. You could treat it as X if you want. Now I'm going to plug into the formula just like we did. And now this turns into more of an equation because we have a variable we have to solve for. We can't just like multiply everything out here. What I start by doing is doing 400 times 0.05. And that gives me 20. So I know 20T is equal to 100. And now I'm going to solve this equation. Divide both sides by 20 because it says 20 times T. Dividing will cancel it out. And I end up getting an answer here of 5 years. So this is what today is going to look like. Utilizes the same formula, the same ideas, but the actual process is slightly different because we are going to be now solving for this missing variable. Whatever it may be. There could be some problems where P is missing, some where R is missing. Here are the actual steps that formalize what we're doing today. If you'd like to pause, obviously I'm not going to sit in this video for like 5 minutes. So if you want to pause, this is a good idea to pause now and copy these down. Okay. Hopefully you had some time to jot these down. I just very quickly want to talk about step 4. Make sure you're giving the appropriate unit. For like the last problem we just went over, I want to say 5 years. Sometimes we get so used to doing money, people will answer it and they'll say like $5, right? You might lose points depending on the system that's being graded. You know, obviously if it's multiple choice, you're probably not going to make that mistake, but just make sure you're writing down the right unit there. Especially if it's a percent, make sure that you're giving it as a percent. Okay, so let's see one worked out where something is missing. In this problem, the rate is missing. It says calculate the interest rate. So that tells me right away the rate is obviously missing. There's a starting balance of 184, so that's my principal. The original amount is 184. After 3 years, so they tell me the time, 3 years, and $22 in interest. Now I don't have to subtract here because 22 is just the interest itself. If it said like the new balance was $200 or something, then I would want to subtract 200 whenever minus 184. But in this one, 22 is just interest by itself. I plug in everything in the right spot in my formula, It doesn't matter that these are like separated. Multiplication is commutative, so you can switch the order around so they are next to each other if you'd rather do that. But 184 times 3 is 552. Now I get rid of 552 by dividing both sides by 552. This is going to be a little bit of an ugly decimal. We're going to make it into a percent by moving it twice to the right. We usually move it twice to the left to make it a decimal. Now we're doing the reverse. We're making it a percent by moving it 2 times to the right. And now at the very last stage is where I'm going to round. And I end up getting 3.99%. Sometimes we round a little too early, and that can make a difference. So if you rounded right here, you would have got 4% as your final answer. So make sure that you round it as your very, very last step when you're doing a problem. Any type of math problem, rounding should occur at the very end. Okay. And a next example here, how long would it take you to earn $125.85 in interest if there's a 3% interest rate and you initially invest $839? So this one, once again, I see the interest is clear. This is my starting amount. This is my percent. I make it into a decimal, and now time is missing. I'm going to call it t. You can call it x if you want. I plug into IPRT. I multiply the two numbers that I can together to get 2517. And I solve for t by dividing both sides by 2517, and I get an answer of 5 years. Okay? So as you see, these problems are pretty similar, even though different variables can be missing. We identify what all four variables are. Even if one of them is missing, label it as the variable, plug into your formula, and then solve. Make sure that you clearly identify what the unit is. In this case, it was 5 years. Especially if it's a rate, you want to make sure that you make it back into a percent by moving it 2 times to the right. That concludes this lesson on simple interest finding parts. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and try your best with the homework assignment that is posted for tonight. Thank you guys, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.